Welcome to a special edition of the Tiger Football Report. I'm your host, Spiro Morekas, along with the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose. And Rob, spring football just ended last week. And for you guys, first of all, for those of us that don't know, what were you able to do in the fall, if you did anything in the fall with the players?
We worked out in the weight room, some very limited, mostly on the field because back then COVID was still – we didn't know how to manage it very well. So we got some lifting, good bit of running in the fall. And I believe we had 8 practices, got 8 practices in before Thanksgiving. And then by Thanksgiving, we had shut every school down completely. Everybody went home and they were all virtual from there till end of January.
All right. So these guys, obviously, they're itching to play football.
I could say that.
And so you start spring practice. This is a unique situation to any that you've had. What was different about this spring practice as opposed to the other ones that you've had?
Well, one, we had more kids. That because of the circumstances and the cloud of COVID, I took an extra 20 players, just walk-on guys that wanted an opportunity, guys that had a chance, guys that were on our radar but didn't fit into the numbers, just whatever we could do to add to the numbers so we keep practicing should COVID really knock us out. And we got to a point in the fall, we took one pause in the fall because one guy in one positions group got it, and it shut all of them down for 2 weeks or 10 days, and that really hampered us. So made a conscious decision to take more kids, give more kids opportunities, and so we could get through practice. What else was different? I don't think, I talk about the guys that played on the 10 team and how they struggled through 9, struggled through 10, but grew, and how excited they were to play in 11, that they were just excited to play football and they knew they were going to win. And I said this about a couple other teams that, had a chance. When Tom took over that spring, those guys were really amped up to play. I don't think I've ever been around a group of kids who wanted to play football this bad, and they really didn't care. Like they were blind. They wanted to work out together. They wanted to run together. They wanted to put a helmet on. They wanted to play football. And they wanted to play football like little kids want to play football. Just the joy of the damn game. Like I missed it so much. And that attitude was prevalent in everything we did. I basically said, look, there's massive challenges for us to be able to do this. And I'm giving guys a ton of opportunities. But if you don't want to, you don't want to fill out, we have to take a COVID scan every day. My guys have to turn in a COVID scan every day before 5:30 in the morning. If they can't, they cannot work out and they cannot practice. They can't come to practice. They can't come to campus. By the time I got through the first 3 weeks, with 100 guys, I'd cut 4. I cut 4. Said, you don't want to do your scans? Just don't come back. It's not important to you. I don't care what the problem is. We got a job to do. This is an obstacle that just like any other. Now, granted, it's unlike any other we've ever dealt with, but it's an obstacle, and it's in our way, and it's in the way of our goal. So we're either going under it, over it, around it, or through it, but it's not going to be an issue. We're not going to talk about the obstacle. We're not going to talk about how hard it is to work out as a football team during COVID. We're not going to talk about all the million protocol crazy things we have to do to get this done. We're going to talk about the goal. I don't care about what's in the way. And if you care about what's in the way, don't worry about the goal. You don't need to be here. And we found guys that were deadly serious about getting better. They've missed football, missed working out together so long. There's a hunger, and it was rejuvenating to be around. You talk about the depressing cloud of COVID, and I hear it every day on the news, and I hear all the stuff and all the teams and the pause it. Not my guys. No way. It was hard, but it was worth it.
Have you been paying attention much to what's going on in the CAA?
Some.
And in the FCS football? And are you surprised, not surprised by the number of teams that have had games canceled, that have canceled the rest of their season?
No, not at all. That's why we weren't in this. It's a piece of why we weren't in this. When I've listened to what happened, when I watched the starting running back from North Dakota State blow out his knee in the first game, and I know he's done for next fall, I said a prayer for him, and I'm sorry that it happened, but I never could have felt more right that I did not put our kids in that situation. That us as a as a family, as a football program, had this conversation that was bigger than I want to play football. It was bigger than I miss playing football. It was if this, then that. And it was a large, intelligent discussion that lasted well over a month and a half before we made the decision to not play in the spring. And it's probably one of the smartest things we've ever done.
What happens now? Spring practice is over. Where do you go over the next couple of months leading into summer camp?
We had good workouts, good workout plan starting in January. And the goal was to catch up enough that we could put ourselves in position to practice football the right way and not get hurt. And I'm happy to say that's exactly what transpired, that we made it through 15 spring practices under the cloud of COVID without one pause, one stop. We might have had 3 total positives in the span of 2.5 months. Like the kids stayed here for spring break because they weren't going to put themselves in harm's way so they could keep practicing. That's how committed they were to this. So spring ball ended last Saturday, and we have some medical evaluations we did Monday and Tuesday. But from here on out, we're back to lifting and running 5 days a week. And how big, how fast, and how strong and how smart can we get between now and August 1st? And that's the goal.
During spring ball, how much evaluation goes into who is going to be starting? Do you have your mind made up a lot after spring ball, or semi-made up, not made up? How many spots are solidified in spring ball as opposed to what happens in the summer?
That's a really good question. I'm trying to compare the decade prior and where I'd say we're probably least secure in total number of starting spots of who those guys are. And it's clearly straight up COVID, how long we've been removed from football, how rusty some of these guys are, who's returning, who's not returning, who's going to stick around for the fall, who's not going to stick around for the fall. Like Tebow, we're not going to have Tebow. Tebow's going to graduate. He's an international student, and there's no way, per the international rules, while the NCAA may have given him another year, the United States of America and student visas and all that, they're not going to give him another year. They don't have a reason to do that. So, it's a juggling act. And with the portal being the way it is, with the transfer mentality during COVID being as big as it is, you're not going to have you're going to have a tough time with this. You're not going to have a full 2 deep, even if we can open practice since you can come, until probably 2 weeks before the first game. And that's not holding my cards close to my vest. There's just too many moving parts based on where we haven't been over the past year and a half. There's so much growth that's going to transpire from now until the time we finish camp and be ready to play Morgan that, are there certain guys that is going to start? Yeah, I'd say there's certain guys like Cole Tripko is going to be the center. I can tell you that. And Sam Jennings going to be nose guard. I can tell you that. You know what I mean? Like, I bet you Christian Dixon starts at linebacker. But I can tell you that. Sean McDonough is definitely going to be the punter. But there's so many different moving parts and so many guys. Like, I'm going to get Darian Bryant back from 2 years ago. And we knocked the rust off of him for 15 practices. But do I know what his finished product is yet? Nope, sure don't. Got a new tight end. Got another tight end, like, who could play. He only played 7 of those practices. Are we there yet? I don't know. So I feel good where we're going as a team, but I can't give you the exacts as who's going to play where and who's going to start on Saturday yet.
All right. Well, Coach, great to catch up with you. And before you know it, we'll be doing our first Tiger football report, hopefully from a studio.
I very much look forward to that.